Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Today, I promised a program on cage feeders. Why and when do you need cage feeders? I know I just had a comment yesterday from someone who said, I don't understand people who want to exclude certain birds. And I understand that sentiment, but I also understand that there are some birds that can be real trouble at a bird feeder, and that is, and that they chase off other birds. They just make a mess. They waste a lot of food. They also gobble up a lot of seed and can be negative on your wallet when it comes to feeding birds, and a lot of people get frustrated. And I think that part of the reason that people don't understand is because some of these birds that we're going to be talking about, and the situations where you really need cage feeders, they don't have that problem. But they got to realize that these programs are from people all over the country, and even some people over the world, and we're trying to help them through tough situations. And so, why cage feeders and when cage feeders? Because some people don't use cage feeders all year long. They use them at certain times of the year, and March is the month that we sell a lot of cage feeders in our store because it marks the return of the common grackle. These birds are big, they're noisy, and they make a mess. They're bullies. I've seen them kill smaller birds with that big beak of theirs, but they just consume and throw out seed left and right out of regular bird feeders when they're here. And for some people, I know, especially in the desert Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, and those regions, in Texas, this the common grackle, the great tail grackle, is a much even larger grackle and can be even more of a problem in certain areas. I remember the guy I bought my store from. Retired to Arizona, and he said he gave up trying to feed birds down there because of the grackle problems, and also some of the quail and things. He said he just other birds couldn't get in to eat because these birds just took over the feeder station. So one of the ways that I have always talked about battling them is you can use their taste buds. You can use their size are the most effective ways to do it. So, and whenever I'm talking about the grackle, I also have to throw in the European starling. Now, the European starling doesn't leave here in the winter in our area, in the Kansas City region, but the grackle typically do, and they're just now coming back in March. They've been gone for the winter to the Gulf states and the southern states. Well, the starlings stick around, during the harshest part of winter, the starlings can be really aggressive at feeders and take over there. So, why cage feeders? Well, we talked about the using their taste buds, and we've safflower. You hear me tout the greatness of safflower a lot. A lot of birds that don't like it, and squirrels don't like it, and raccoons per se don't like it. House sparrows, but grackle hate it. And then next, said this picture was taken by Carrie, who works for me, and these grackle are very unhappy because they hate safflower seed, and they'll start tossing that out. But typically, safflower has been an answer for dealing with these larger birds. It's also an answer for dealing with starlings in a lot of situations. And then you can also use Niger. Niger is not a favorite seed of starlings or grackle. Plus, their size, you're using their size against them. Finch feeders as a whole are much harder for grackle to negotiate just because of their size. And one way you keep grackle off of a finch feeder is don't put a tray on it. I don't believe in trays on my finch feeders at all. And you could use their seed choice with the Niger seed to kind of keep those blackbirds off. But it's for your larger birds you want to feed. You know, you love your cardinals, you love your blue jays, you love lots of different species of birds, and usually you need to feed a variety. Well, by feeding the safflower that we talked about, cardinals love it, so it becomes a great choice during the grackle season to put that in open trays in which the cardinals can get to, because when you want to feed your sunflower and nut mixes, you tend to want to put those when the grackle are here in cage feeders. And cage feeders originated by these small cages like this one, where you see the outer cage is very close to the inner tube. And these were made primarily to keep squirrels out, because squirrels have to put their face on the feeder to get the seed out. And of course, they'll chew on the tubes. Well, this feeder works really well against the squirrel, but it does not at all work against a grackle or a starling because their bills are long enough to be able to reach in there and grab the seed out and pull it out. So several years ago, the industry had to move their cages out. They had to make the distance between the cage, the outer cage, and your tube greater because of the grackle being able to screen their neck in there and get to the seed and the starlings as well. And of course, that worked great. I mean, you can see the goldfinches can go in and out of there, the chickadees can go in and out of there, downy woodpeckers can actually go inside these cages, and it worked great for those. But people were complaining that their cardinals couldn't feed in it and their blue jays couldn't feed in it, and that's true. That is a negative of these cage feeders, is that the bigger birds can't get in there. Red-bellied woodpeckers can't get in there. Well, the safflower used to be your solution there, and that was great. But now, I mean, safflower is a favorite food of doves, and increasingly over the last few years, I'm getting more and more complaints about doves and pigeon species at people's feeders. Now, again, it's not terribly bad in the Kansas City region, but I know in other parts of the country it is. And so we've had to come up with solutions for those. And again, you may love your blue jays and you want them to be able to feed, but you just don't want the dove species to go in. Now, the mourning dove is fat and chunky, and so it can't get through either of these cages. But usually they want a big platform feeder, like your cardinals want that platform feeder. They want a big surface to put their feet on, and they're not great at clinging, and so to get a big enough cage for the blue jays and for the cardinals to get in, but not the doves, we've had to rethink things, and we've had to come up with new methods. And this is a great solution. I'm going to switch this up to so you can see a little bit better. This is a hopper feeder, and this is a cage that they make specially for this feeder. A dove guard is called. And if you can notice the difference, the openings in this cage are 2 inches, and they're bigger than the ones for those tube feeders. So cardinals can get inside of this cage and they can feed, but the dove cannot. This has proven very effective for people who have a dove problems. And this company makes other dove guards as well. And I had to take a picture of the catalog because I didn't have any in stock, but they make cages that go over trays and ground trays, and fly-through feeders as well to keep the dove out. And we're getting more of these in stock now because, like I said, the number of people who are having the problems is increasing. So we want to get the cages in to help you, so you can feed the birds you want to feed, and maybe not some of the ones you don't want to feed. So the dove are wonderful birds and people love them. And it's not that they won't get fed. There'll be plenty of seeds still making it to the ground. And what I do at my house is birds, and I take care of my ground feeding birds like the mourning doves and the juncos and the white-throated sparrows. I throw just regular ground throw on the ground, but just a custom blend of mine. And it is mainly millet. It's got some safflower and some sunflower in it, but those are things that mourning dove really like to eat. So I make sure I take care of my mourning doves. I just don't want them taking over my feeder stations where a lot of my other birds want to feed out of my fly-through feeders and my hopper feeders, things like that. So I'm not excluding the mourning doves, that's for sure. But the dove cages are a way to go. And there are times and places, that you may not need them, and you can take them down when you don't need the cages on them. But whenever it becomes a problem, you can add the cages back to it. I was going to show you, this company here makes a retro cage. This is just a cage that will fit tube feeders that you already have. They come in 3 different lengths, and that might be a solution for you. If you're like, I don't want to buy a whole new cage feeder, but I have a tube feeder. There are cages that will actually retrofit those and are great for that. So that is the ins and outs, if you will, of cage feeders. If you have any questions, please, you can always email me at mark@backyardbirdcenter.com. Send me ideas for future programs. If you like the programs, please subscribe. And remember that, if you want to help a YouTuber out, you watch the ads. Let the ads play at the first of the video, and that helps a YouTuber, believe it or not. So we appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Thursday.